The lineage of Gautama Buddha, biological and spiritual. The question of whether there's a direct genealogical lineage from Gautama Buddha to the present day is a fascinating and frequently debated topic. To address it comprehensively, we need to distinguish between two types of lineages: biological, bloodline, and spiritual, the transmission of teachings, or Dharma. This article will explore both, examining historical evidence, traditional claims, and their relevance in the context of modern Buddhism. Gautama Buddha's biological lineage. Gautama Buddha, originally Prince Siddhartha, had a son named Rahula with Princess Yashodhara. However, Rahula chose the monastic path at a young age, becoming a bhikkhu, which meant the potential for a direct biological lineage from the Buddha ended there. Embracing this celibate life, both Rahula and Yashodhara renounced worldly ties, mirroring a broader trend within the Buddha's family. Many, including his half-sister Mahapajapati Gautami and his cousin Ananda, also joined the Sangha and lived as monastics. Beyond these personal decisions, a historical tragedy also contributed. The Buddha's own Sakya clan faced near destruction during a brutal massacre led by King Vidudaba of Kosala. Even though the Buddha had tried to prevent the attack earlier, he eventually allowed karma to unfold. The assault on Kapilavastu left very few survivors, effectively sealing the fate of the Sakya lineage. Ultimately, a combination of spiritual renunciation and historical catastrophe explains why no direct biological line from Gautama Buddha exists today. Claims and legends of biological lineage. Despite these circumstances, there are some historical claims and legends about the biological continuation of the Buddha's family line through relatives or surviving clan members. 1. Sri Lanka. The Mahavamsa Chronicle, 5th century CE, records that the Sinhala kingdom in Sri Lanka traced its ancestral origins to the Sakya clan. It tells of a prince named Pandu Vasudeva, said to be a relative of the Buddha from the Sakya clan, who was an ancestor of the Sinhala people. However, modern historians tend to view such stories as more mythological political, serving to strengthen the king's religious legitimacy rather than factual biological lineage. 2. India and Nepal. There are communities today who claim descent from the Sakya tribe, such as the Tharu people in the Terai region, and some Newar families in the Kathmandu Valley, who use the surname Shakya and call themselves Sakyavamsa, Sakya dynasty. 3. Burma, Myanmar. The founding legend of early Burmese monarchy, King Abhyasa, also states he originated from the Buddha's clan. However, concrete historical evidence directly linking these claims to Gautama Buddha's bloodline is very limited. In essence, Gautama Buddha's direct biological lineage did not continue in a documented way. His son, Rahula, left no descendants, and his family clan did not maintain a verifiable genealogy to the present day with strong evidence. The existing claims are more of a cultural legacy or genealogical myth that developed within certain Buddhist communities, not a historically verifiable family tree. The Buddha himself emphasized the legacy of his teachings, Dharma, rather than a blood legacy. Spiritual lineage, Dharma succession. In stark contrast to the broken bloodline, Buddhist traditions have consistently emphasized a powerful spiritual lineage through the transmission of teachings, Dharma, from teacher to disciple. This spiritual lineage refers to the continuity of instruction and ordination that can theoretically be traced back to Gautama Buddha himself. It means that each generation of teachers and disciples is believed to carry on the Dharma legacy of the Buddha, whether through the conveyance of teachings, meditation practices, or monastic ordination. Below, we will outline the spiritual lineages in 3 main schools of Buddhism: Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, including important figures, their continuation to the present day, and whether the records are primarily historical or symbolic. 1. The Theravada Sangha lineage, monastic succession. In the Theravada tradition, dominant in Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia, spiritual continuity is preserved through an unbroken monastic Sangha originating from the Buddha himself. The Buddha established the Sangha and codified the Vinaya, ensuring its longevity through strict ordination procedures. Every Upasampada, full ordination, requires at least 5 senior bhikkhus, including a preceptor, upajjhaya, and a mentor, acharya, forming an unbroken chain of ordination tracing back to the early Sangha. This lineage is treated as a literal, historical succession. Each bhikkhu is ordained by those previously ordained, preserving apostolic continuity. If a valid ordination lineage ceases, such as the Bhikkhuni lineage in Theravada, which vanished around the 11th century, it is considered broken until formally revived. The eventual restoration of the Bhikkhuni ordination, with assistance from other traditions, highlights how Theravada views spiritual lineage as a direct, person-to-person transmission without interruption. Key early figures in the Theravada lineage include Mahakassapa, who led the first council, Upali, who recited the Vinaya, and Ananda, who preserved the Buddha's discourses. Sri Lankan chronicles like the Dipavamsa and Mahavamsa trace this lineage through Mahakassapa to Moggalliputta Tissa, and then to Mahinda, who brought Theravada Buddhism to Sri Lanka in the 3rd century BCE. This monastic lineage, centered on teacher-disciple ordination, has continued through history. Even when it lapsed due to war, it was restored by reordination from bhikkhus abroad. Today, Theravada orders in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos preserve this historical chain, with senior monks able to trace their ordination lines. Theravada thus maintains a concrete, continuous spiritual lineage rooted in historical transmission. 2. The Mahayana lineage, Dharma transmission in Chan Zen. In the Mahayana tradition, especially Chan, Zen, in East Asia, spiritual lineage is emphasized through the idea of patriarchs, Zhu Shi. Chan claims an unbroken Dharma transmission, starting with the Buddha, and symbolically marked by the flower sermon, where only Mahakashyapa understood the Buddha's silent teaching, making him the first patriarch. Though this story emerged in Chinese texts around the 11th century, it serves to legitimize Zen's teacher-disciple lineage. Chan texts list 28 Indian patriarchs, ending with Bodhidharma, who brought the tradition to China and became its first Chinese patriarch. From him, transmission continued through Huike to Huineng, 6th patriarch, after which the school branched out but preserved lineage chains. Japanese Zen still maintains detailed lineage charts tracing back to Bodhidharma and the Buddha, with texts like Denkoroku recording over 50 generations. Key figures in the Mahayana, especially Zen lineage, include Mahakashyapa, seen as the first Dharma heir, Bodhidharma, who brought Chan to China and was later placed as the 28th patriarch, and Huineng, the 6th Chinese patriarch, whose teachings shaped Zen thought. Today, Zen lineages like Rinzai and Soto in Japan maintain formal succession records. A Roshi receives Dharma transmission, Inka Shomei, from their teacher, linking them to an unbroken chain back to the Buddha. While parts of the early lineage are likely symbolic, Zen values spiritual authenticity over historical precision, viewing the lineage as a living transmission of awakening. 3. The Vajrayana lineage, Guru lineage in Tibetan Tantra. Vajrayana Buddhism, especially in Tibet, emphasizes spiritual lineage through multiple teacher-disciple lines specific to each school: Nyingma, Kagyu, Sakya, and Gelug. Unlike other traditions, these lineages often begin not with the historical Buddha, but with transcendent figures like Vajradhara, representing the Buddha's Dharmakaya. In the Kagyu school, for example, the Mahamudra teachings were said to be transmitted from Vajradhara to Tilopa through mystical experience. Tilopa passed them to Naropa, then to Marpa, Milarepa, and Gampopa, forming the Golden Rosary lineage still recited today. The Gelug lineage, founded by Tsongkhapa, draws on various sources, including the Kadam tradition via Atisha. Its leadership includes the Ganden Tripa and the Dalai Lama, the latter seen as Avalokitesvara's reincarnation, marking a unique spiritual succession by rebirth rather than direct mentorship. The Nyingma school preserves ancient transmissions like the Dzogchen lineage from Samantabhadra to Garab Dorje, as well as revealed teachings, Terma, attributed to Padmasambhava and discovered by Tertons. Each lineage affirms an unbroken flow of esoteric wisdom rooted in direct realization. Key Vajrayana figures include Tilopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, and Gampopa of the Kagyu lineage, Padmasambhava of the Nyingma tradition, Tsongkhapa, founder of Gelug, and the Dalai Lama, representing spiritual continuity through reincarnation. These lineages continue today with living holders like the 17th Karmapa, Kagyu, and the 14th Dalai Lama, Gelug. Vajrayana teachings are passed through guru lineages, often recited in lineage prayers, affirming authenticity. While the earliest links often involve mystical transmissions from cosmic Buddhas, the middle and later figures are historically grounded. Vajrayana thus blends symbolic and historical transmission as one continuous spiritual legacy. Conclusion: historical versus symbolic. From the discussion above, it can be concluded that Gautama Buddha's biological lineage has left virtually no traceable presence to this day, except in cultural myths. The Buddha chose a spiritual legacy rather than a family dynasty, as evidenced by his own son becoming a bhikkhu and the ending of his direct bloodline. In contrast, the Buddha's spiritual lineage is deeply embedded in various traditions. Theravada maintains a historical monastic succession from the Buddha, the collective continuity of the Sangha. Mahayana Zen developed a patriarchal lineage, some parts of which are symbolic, for legitimacy, but still form a teacher-disciple bridge to the present day. Vajrayana maintains guru lineages for each esoteric school, combining historical elements, a chain of real teachers in India and Tibet, with spiritual mythical elements, early transmission from cosmic Buddhas, or inner revelations. Key figures in these spiritual chains, such as Mahakashyapa, Ananda, Upalai in the early Sangha, Bodhidharma and Huineng in Zen, Tilopa and Tsongkhapa in Tibet, serve as connecting figures between the Buddha and subsequent generations. Some are historically recognized, others semi-legendary. The continuation to the present also takes various forms. Theravada orders and Buddhist monastic communities still exist as living lineages. Modern Zen masters still receive Dharma transmission from their predecessors. Tibetan lamas still trace their teaching lines and recite lists of gurus back to the Buddha. This indicates that Gautama Buddha's legacy was not passed down through blood, but through the Dharma. Spiritual lineage is considered more essential than biological lineage in transmitting his enlightenment and teachings. From a critical historical perspective, many details of the lineages, especially in Mahayana and Vajrayana traditions, are symbolic or later constructions for the purpose of legitimization. However, from the internal perspective of Buddhist practitioners, these lineages are believed to be channels of blessings and authority that connect the present to the Buddha 2,500 years ago. Empirically, historically, the lines might be discontinuous or not fully verifiable, but spiritually, they are felt to be whole. forming a golden chain that connects present-day truth seekers directly, both through teachings and inspiration, to Gautama Buddha.